Hello and welcome. I am Sean Dubé.
I'm Patrick Quinlan.
And this is Supporting Actors, a podcast about the art, business, and craft of acting from the perspective to sometimes working actors.
And today we are talking about actor expenses or actor investments, depending on how you, what's the cost of doing business of being an actor today? And we have a plan, I think, but we might go off the rails because I think Sean and I are both can get pretty worked up about some of these topics and business entities and the situation we're all in, because acting is one of those professions where you have to pay some money up front yearly to even compete, to get the the opportunity to interview for the job, right?
And that's one of the things that upsets me the most about it is it's just what you said there. It is paying for the opportunity to be interviewed or to audition, right? There's no, which is, so to answer the question that opened the show, are they expenses or investments? They're expenses. And I think that to me, they are. And it's part of this bigger trend right now that we're seeing throughout Hollywood, which is like the hopification of this profession in the way that it's like it doesn't pay you enough for a living, but it's requiring a lot of money, and now it's like a thing that we're surviving to do or finding other ways to do. Anyways, it can go out of hand. And
like it's becoming a hobby.
Yes.
Did you say? I thought I heard hopification. I was like, what are we hopping from?
Oh, yeah, no,
like
hobbyification of it. Yeah, it's as it's becoming a hobby, but they're doing it to the crew, they're doing it to directors, right? Like the whole system is becoming this way. And part of that was always going to be because there's so many people that want to do it because it's for various reasons. But it's becoming less and less sustainable, which is why then you see all of these coaches on Instagram and stuff, which is part of what inspired this episode of talking about like how much on a bare minimum level are we talking, does it take to cost to be an actor? And it should be zero, but unfortunately that's not the answer.
Yeah. And I think I mean, there probably always were expenses for an actor over in the past decades, before, and we've certainly in the recent years some of the expenses have changed, but there is this entity around any industry, I'm sure, of gurus and experts trying to tell you what you need to have to be competitive. And so if you're a small business, it's sort of, and you look at it like these are investments. So like acting class is an investment in your career because you are training, and it's an expense too. You don't have to do it, but like, you can be specific about what you get out of it. I think that's where we'll talk about most. What are you getting out of it? But you don't need to go to the very best, most expensive acting class to compete, because it won't guarantee you a job, and so many things won't. It is interesting. It's just like I try to recognize my resistance around some things and just look at it like, okay, well, if I am a small business, like where would I have to invest in my business to get the word out, to market my service, to find relationships, and there's probably free and creative ways to do it, and there's certainly avenues where people will take your money, and there's more than one avenue, and so then you price match and you try to find the deal if it's a thing, or you talk to your friends and you get creative. Like I wanted to pull a clip recently. I was like, oh, okay, I got to get a clip. I got to screen capture a clip. Well, it's on a streaming service that will block out my standard option of recording the screen. So I either have to like find someone with some tech know-how, or I looked up service. There's one I was already familiar with that raised their rates.
I might know
There's
your problem and how to fix it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, thankfully I know Sean, I had a feeling Sean would know the answer to this, but
yeah.
there's other services there's like, oh, for $10 we'll do it, whatever. And it's like there's $10 out the door and then $10 that I have to spend to upload it to somewhere else, which is Actors Access, which we'll talk about in 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 this episode. So it escalates quickly if you're not paying attention and if you're not scrutinizing where your money and energy is going to.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that kind of along the lines of what you were saying here, where it's like, there's a service that will offer that offers the solution to your problem. Most of the business problems, and let me phrase it that way, are self-solvable, but it will take you time, right?
Yeah,
And if you don't have time, or if you're at a spot where you don't want to deal with it anymore, if you're making money while from acting, then you can spend the money on it, and that could be worth it if it saves you a headache. But there's oftentimes, if there's a will, there's a way with a lot of these little
sure.
things, like your bit there. You probably need to shut off the GPU acceleration on your browser, and then you can record your
Oh,
screen. So that's a little, yeah,
interesting. I'm
that's a
going to try it after
little
we get off the
sneaky
pod.
thing. Yeah. So, um, little tip for free. If you want to take my course, there's a sign up at
Yeah, you look,
yeah.
plug that into a chat bot and run a website, and people will send you money to do it. Because I was like, this has got to be an AI website that's doing this for me, and like,
Oh, 100%.
offering to grab this. Because I was like, there's got to be a way I can do it. Um, but
Yeah. But
but it's been around for before there was the internet and streaming. There were services that you could drive to in Burbank or Studio City that would, record your episode on DVD or VHS and give it to you so you could bring it to your editor to put in your reel. And there's a whole ecosystem around making money from
around,
people in business.
yeah. Well, and part of it too is like it's around the services the union are supposed to be enforcing, but that's okay. That's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
Um, so let's dive in before we get too high on our umbrage horses here. There are costs though that are worthwhile and that are necessary. So before we dive into what you should not spend money on, let's think a little bit about like what are some of the costs of existing to be an actor, and let's think about it in different phases because people listening might not be actors or they might be new to the profession or just kind of interested in general. So we're kind of talking like business back end here. What do you need? What's the bare minimum to get started? So I think one thing is casting websites. So there's a couple of different options for those, and they can vary depending on the cost. If you're just getting started, you're probably looking at something like Backstage.com, and you'll find non-union work there that can be a good spot to kind of start to meet people, get some real material. You need to think about headshots, which getting started, you could probably do a portrait mode on a modern iPhone might get you there to get started again with some of this non-union lower level entry stuff. Probably going to be fine. Once you get a couple things going, you're thinking about subscriptions, and then there's a lot of different services that you can get, right? You can think
Yeah. So, I mean, what it depends on what one thing that it depends on is what you're targeting, right? So
yes.
if you're targeting TV and film and you have an agent or something that wants to submit you to auditions for TV
But I
and
think
film.
if you're an agent though is already several steps down the road. If you're just starting, right? Like
Sure, okay,
yeah,
but
yes.
then I think, well, I guess I would just say like I think you can find an agent or a manager, someone like you'll probably, as you're trying to collect a reel and stuff, all you really need is one photo and a digital footprint, which is one of these casting sites usually. And that's what the agents use. So theatrical uses Actors Access, and Commercials use a whole slew of different ones, but primarily casting networks. And if you didn't have an agent before then, I guess I would say Actors Access would be your go-to for me personally, because you'd find
Yeah.
short films and student films,
Yep.
and it'll cost you $60 for the year to have 2 free headshots, and that'll allow you to submit unlimited submissions to any projects that comes your way. You won't get submissions for projects that pay a ton of money. Um, and then but I know some people, I never had any luck, but Casting Networks has short films and student films and photo shoots and all sorts of different things on that. I just never submitted to stuff on there because it just felt like if someone was taking their production seriously, they were probably on Actors Access.
I think that's right. That would be the place that I would start also. And then the other benefit of Actors Access is there is a talent portal for representation. So
Yeah,
let's
called
say
breakdowns.
you booked a couple of things and you then pay something stupid, was it $30 per minute to upload your video, which is
Yeah.
outrageous, but you put a reel on there of a couple shots a couple things that you did, then you could start thinking about trying to approach agents through Actors Access, and you might have some luck there. Although I think cold reach outs might be better, but that's a separate story. The Actors Access, I do think I agree, is probably where I would start today if I was starting over and I had like 2 headshots. $60 is going to be the cost of admission to submit to various industrials. Verticals are now, like, again, just thinking non-union stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
industrial, commercial, um, yeah, verticals, short films, sometimes indie films are non-union, and those will be on there. So there's a lot of opportunity that you can get to, and you just got to know that without a reel, you could also you could shoot some self tapes as a reel to get started, something that doesn't cost you any money beyond the crazy costs that Actors Access charges you to host it. But so you can get a couple things up there just to show that you have an ability and that you have a look, and um, try to get an opportunity, right? And that's kind of where I would begin. But
And I wonder if there's any like younger listeners or like savvy actors listening who are like social media minded. I sort of, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like Actors Access is basically like your professional Instagram in a way. It's got a couple photos that show you off. It might have some clips, and it's got your resume on there. And that's all you can upload and pay to upload all sorts of stuff to it.
mhm.
But I wonder if people are benefiting from Instagram and just putting their stuff on there and finding, I see casting submissions requests on Instagram every now and then. Like people are getting creative about where they're looking, and you wonder, you post that, that's actually your main sort of
There might be Facebook
vehicle.
groups too, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't have Facebook. But listener, if you know of something that we're not mentioning to get started, for thinking entry level free ways to get in front of people, send us an email.
Yeah.
ask@supportingactors.com. Let us know, and we'll help spread the word. Um, but yeah, but let's get into, all right. So now you've done a couple things. Let's say we're over this initial hurdle. We found some representation. We're now working actors. We're in that category. Maybe we're not eligible for the union yet, or maybe we are eligible but we haven't joined. Like, what are some of the costs that you have? And if you kind of did all of the things, it adds up to several $100s a year,
Oh,
just to exist,
probably.
or over 1,000 easily, just
Yeah.
to not have work.
I mean, let's say you, I mean, if you get let's say you get an agent, let's say you get an across the board agent. So they're gonna submit you to television, and they're gonna submit you to commercial stuff. They
Right.
would need you to be on Actors Access. They wouldn't need you to pay the $60 a month necessarily, because they can do it on their end. They're gonna get the breakdowns and submit you, so you wouldn't be self-submitting anymore. But you would have to upload probably more than 2 photos, would be my
Yep.
thought. You probably have somewhere from 5 to 10 photos, and that's $10 a pop. if your reel is up there, that's $30 for the first minute and like
For,
10
for,
bucks a minute
no, it's
after
$30 each minute.
each minute. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
it's
I've had,
crazy.
I'm like, that reel
Yeah,
needs to come in at two
it's 3 minutes.
or at 190, 159.
Yeah, yeah.
And, uh, and then if they, for commercials, they would want you on casting networks, which is $30 a month.
Hmm.
If you want to pay them to hold a bunch of, it's like free photos, uploads as many as you want, or you could forego the 30 and just upload your photos, which costs, it depends how often you feel like. When younger actors tend to get photos more frequently, and agents ask that of you when they're trying to figure out what your brand is and what you go out for. But Casting Frontier, which is like a $60 a year service,
Hmm.
casting.com, which is free, but I think
I've never
there's
used it. Yeah.
I have an account and I've never gotten an audition from it. And it's like, it's a noble thing where some people are trying to give alternatives and competition to the big
Sure.
companies, but they're not enough users. They're not enough traction. It's buggy.
What are some of the other
Um,
ones? There's sometimes you'll submit. I've submitted auditions through Cast It Talent,
Cast It, yeah, is another one of those, which,
but you don't need an account. You just
right.
that'll be like the break. They're funny because like the breakdown will come through your agent, and then your
Yeah.
agent will be like, you have an audition, but you have to upload it here on this other portal.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's because that
yeah,
office just uses it and they
right.
like it. So it's like every different casting director, not they tend to have this tend to use like
Whatever
Actors
fits their workflow.
Access or
Yeah,
casting networks, but they could have their own opinion and be like, we use Casting Frontier or we use Cast It. And it's just the name of the game a little bit.
yeah.
And those
It's
are your submission services. That's for your reps to submit you. So yeah, you're looking at a couple $100 for the year, depending on how much material you're putting up there. And then, there's websites or there's other services to support all of your back end of
yep.
being an actor, right? Like IMDb Pro, which would be like 150, I think, a year.
That's right.
Vimeo,
If you're in the union, there's a little discount.
a little discount for union stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
And
Keeping all your footage and photos at home on a cloud
yep,
costs a little money every month, most likely.
yep. IMDb Pro. Do you think that's worth it?
Uh, is I like it. I like having it. Because I can go down a creative rabbit hole of looking for people. Do I think it's necessary for my acting career? Only recently have I felt like it was maybe necessary because now I feel like, oh, I know what to do if I
Yeah.
found someone's contact info. I know how to present myself or represent myself, or I know what I want to pay attention to. But when I was starting out, I don't think it was as necessary. And it ticks me off a little bit that it's not just included in your Amazon Prime subscription because it's owned by Amazon.
Well,
So,
as is Actors Access. It's like, why isn't it included in Actors Access? Because that's also Breakdown Services is owned by Amazon.
are they really?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought it
it's
was
all owned by Amazon.
wow.
Yeah,
Well, we'll talk about that,
yeah,
I think, a little later in the episode, who owns what
yeah,
and and how that, the modern day monopoly in some instances.
yeah.
There's some actors have websites.
Yep.
Um,
I think it's
and there's other
unnecessary.
services depending if
Yeah,
you live in different regions too, you know.
that's true. Yep.
What
I
do
think
you what do you think's worth it?
I mean, Actors Access, I think for me, if I had to pick one, something like Casting Frontier, what you can do is like pay for 1 year, upload all your stuff, and then stop paying for it, and it'll stay on your profile.
Yeah.
So I've done that. Casting Networks, I just use a free account from there because I think you can upload 3 photos and then you can upload 1 reel for free, or at least that was maybe I
I
paid for
need to
once
get
or
into
twice, but
they've changed their terms so often over the last couple
yes,
of years and I was not paying attention, and that's the one $30. I'm like, I think I could take that back. I've just sort of paid it because I didn't want to think about it. And
yeah,
I just didn't want to be in a position where my agent needed something from me
It wasn't there. Yeah.
and it wasn't there. And I think I'm not getting anything out of that $30. I think I could go free, but
Yeah.
I know I have to like take the time to read all the fine print.
Yeah.
They're owned by a big we'll talk about it later. They're
Yeah.
owned by a big investment hedge fund thing.
Right. Yeah. You're going to see a pattern
Gross.
here. Yeah. Um, Vimeo Pro, I don't think is necessary either. I mean, I guess it could be nice if you wanted to have clean, embedded videos in a website, but I don't think a website is necessary
Yeah.
as an actor because you're using these. And like if you were reaching out to casting or if you're reaching out to someone in the profession, you would just send them your IMDb and your
Yeah.
actor's access, right? And like your actor's access just kind of becomes your resume. There's not a reason to do a separate one anymore, in my
Yes.
experience.
Agreed. Agreed. You don't really need a website unless it's um something that you enjoy
Yeah.
maintaining and like
Or so like
utilizing.
the reason that I use one is that if I'm reaching out to people, rather than send them to my like um send them to YouTube to like watch it, I'll send them to my website to watch my reel because then I can track where they came from and if it came from an email or whatever. So like they can
Oh,
be useful in that way. But again, is that necessary? No, it's not necessary.
right. Yeah. I think like all of these, like you can cut costs and you can certainly shave costs where you can, but there is, a couple $100 that goes yearly that an
Just
actor
in
has to spend
subscribing.
just to subscribe, right?
Yeah.
Just to subscribe.
And
And
then it's
then
another couple
there's
$100 if you upload the materials, right? Sometimes.
yeah, if you're updating your materials, which that's the other, so we could talk about that, the marketing materials,
Yep.
right? You've got your headshots, you've got reels. Anytime it changes, you have new upload fees. And if you're updating your headshots, I feel like younger actors, I think, tend to get headshots more frequently because they're also maybe bouncing around trying different relationships with different reps.
Yep.
And so every time they go to a new rep, they get new headshots. And I feel like you probably get headshots I know I have friends who've gotten them every year. And that's is 500 to 1,000, let's say, or 1,500 maybe a year. When you include hair and makeup, retouching, um, printing back we don't print as often, but you should probably still have a few on hand just in case, because who
Yeah,
knows?
you can print yourself now if you have a good.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Invest
again,
in a
that's another
printer.
cost. That's another
Yeah,
cost.
that's another cost. The workarounds are, yeah, it's like there's workarounds. Like I had a 3-hole puncher that was like, and I had like a paper cutter
Oh yeah,
for cutting my resumes because I was like, I'm not paying an extra fee to have someone take an 8.5 by 11 and turn it into an 8 by 10. Like
yeah,
I can do that myself.
for sure. Yeah, nice.
Or print it on the back. Like
Yeah, right. Just stapling it, right? It's like,
I was just an angry elf with my paper
oh, that's funny.
cutter.
I remember like stapling it and then taking
Yep.
scissors and like,
Yep. That
like,
too. Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
just whatever got it. And sometimes you'd be like, well, it was not. It's like, hopefully they don't care.
Yeah. And you're like, I hope they don't notice that. I hope this
Yeah.
casting director doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like,
But that was the standard for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of all gone away. It's all digital now, which
It's
is
all digital now. And anywhere that someone could take your headshot, they probably don't want to.
well, 'cause then they have to keep track of it. The only time that I've found that people want it is if you're auditioning for a play.
Yeah.
And then they will tend to want it because then, what they're doing is they're laying everyone out on the floor and being like, who's our cast?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a little different. But
Yeah.
but those auditions tend to be in person. But that's the only time. But that's how often, especially in Los Angeles, like how often are you auditioning for plays? Not that often because they don't pay anything. So
Right.
that's the challenge.
So we got
Yeah.
what headshots? We said your reels, which is mostly maybe you have to pay for an editor if you can't, or you have to get tech savvy and teach yourself iMovie or something like that. Uploading again, and then there's the different networking things like we've talked about, workshops, which are $40-50 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching versus acting class. If you want to spend acting class is what, like $300 to $500 a month, depending
Depending on where you
how
go, yeah.
savvy you are.
I mean, I've
Like,
seen them as low as 200 a month, but that's still a
yeah,
lot of money.
yeah, still a lot of money, and depends. And there's classes where you don't get to perform every week, and those are the expensive ones usually. And
Yes,
then there's classes where you do, and then if you have a big audition and you want to use an acting coach, like specifically that you've met through your network or whatever, that would be probably 75 to 150 for an hour.
recession, right? Yeah.
And then of course the tools for your self-tape setup and wardrobe options. I've had to buy coveralls for an audition, for commercial auditions. That they're very specific on wardrobe.
Sometimes.
And I've had to run out to a Pep Boys and buy coveralls. And then I think I kept them because I was like, maybe, And then
I'm a mechanic type.
yeah. I love it when they like a very specific, when the commercial audition will tell you like, be wearing a red shirt, and it's just like everyone goes to Target on their way to the audition and buys that like a $10 red shirt.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I should have just worn whatever.
Because
Because
that's the guy that's going to get cast, right? Is the one
the guy who's
that didn't read the stage direction.
But I mean, there's also those expenses of like, if you back in the day when you'd audition in person, it would be there's hidden costs in gas money and parking meters, and now the hidden costs are in your Wi-Fi probably, and your home setup, and I guess that's kind of it. You just have to have everything working. So you got to like, if you're using your iPhone to film your auditions, which I do, you learn pretty quick when it breaks, when a piece of it, like when your microphone goes out after 2.5 years, and then your agent's mad at you because like they can't hear the sound. And you're like, I can play it. I don't understand why it's not coming to you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, now I need a new phone.
Yeah. Self-tape setups can be a whole like rabbit hole. And I think the other hidden cost to now is time.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot more time to do your average thing, unless you have like a well-lit wall in your house and you're like, all right, now I can do auditions between 10 and 2 a.m. Or 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and that's it. And you just get it right when that wall looks nice. But otherwise it's like you're thinking about lights, you got your a microphone,
a backdrop,
right? And that gets and you have to set it all up every time too. So like there's a lot of costs there just in that capacity. I don't think you need to start with that, but as you book a few things and you become more professional, it's kind of an unspoken expectation, I think.
Well, and that's, something I was thinking about recently is like, that's kind of like every other below the line person. Like my brother-in-law is a scenic painter, and like they bring to set their kit, right?
Yep.
And like
Yep.
camera guys people have their kits and they rent their kits out to other.
Well, that's the major difference right there.
Yeah. So if you had a self-tape, but we actors have a self-tape kit now. We just don't call it that.
Yeah.
And so I recently, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play with a mic that goes with like a lav mic that goes with my phone and see what difference that makes. And that was like an upgrade, but I hadn't bought any equipment for my self-tape setup in years because what I have is working for me,
Right.
But you can upgrade slowly. I haven't found anyone who wants to rent out my kit though. Yeah.
No. Well, the thing is, we don't rent it to production when we get hired, right? We don't get compensated for our kit.
Great.
I mean, sometimes, so for wardrobe, you might.
You can get paid for your shoes or your jeans.
Right. Yeah. So like if you get hired and they like your wardrobe and they want you to bring your own clothes, oftentimes.
I don't think it's worth it personally. $10. I'm like, you might ruin it.
Yeah, right.
That won't cover me getting a new pair.
No, it's not really worth it, but there is a stipend anyways for the wear and tear of your you're yeah, and it is like $10 a day. Yeah, it's not a lot.
And
Um,
then, you book the job. I mean, what we're not getting into is the expenses that go into, like, you're in the union. You got to pay dues to join the union. You got to pay dues yearly. You work enough. Part of that goes to health insurance. Or your commissions go to your managers and your agents.
yep.
Um, there's all sorts of it. So like the dollar amount that an actor gets paid drops pretty quickly
Yes.
from the day they sign the contract. It's like you're making X amount of money, and it's like it's really
Well,
you know
yeah, and it is kind of alarming too. And if you look at the union minimums for like network TV, it looks impressive, right? When
Mhm.
you see the number, like a big number, sometimes it's a big number per episode, right? That you get paid. Um, and which is like a 5-digit number normally, right? Or sometimes it's a 6-digit number depending on the show. And like it seems like a crazy amount of money. But when you factor all of it in, you're kind of taking home 50%.
Yeah,
And you might not work
taxes,
again for 2 or 3 years.
commissions. Yeah,
Right. So it's like it's really not a lot of money when you factor in how often you're working, getting paid, and how much money goes out the door just to say yes to that project.
and that could be another episode we talk taxes. I think that'd be interesting because there's probably some clever ways to work on, but essentially you're getting taxed at a high rate because they're assuming you're making this money every paycheck. And it's like, no, you might just make that money one day or one week. And it's getting taxed as if you were get paid that every week
Right.
for 52 weeks, and you're just not. So, that gets into a whole other ball of wax about actors creating business entities and things like that. But
Sure.
what about I think this is going to be like a little hobby horse for us, or I know I don't know what there's another turn of phrase. It's not a pet peeve. It's certainly a debate, and it's one that we don't have answers to, but where the money goes. And we mentioned a couple services, breakdown services / actors access. And what I learned today is Talent Systems is the corporate entity for casting networks that also owns Frontier Casting. So you're
Mm,
paying the same business twice for two different opportunities. They also own Cast It, I believe.
mm,
And there, there's different iterations, and they're in two different spheres. But if you're an actor going for commercials, because sometimes that pays the bills, and going for television and film, you're in both of those ecosystems. Um, yeah, and what how should we go about this? Breakdowns is the whole workflow of Hollywood at the moment, I would say. Like,
yeah, it it seems to be. Um, and the part that's like the largest mystery is that nobody seems to enjoy it. Like as a platform. Like
well,
casting
you know
doesn't
what?
seem to like it and like actors
No
don't
one
like
seems
it.
to enjoy it, but also no one wants to go through the pain of
Making something better.
starting something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
So there's a
right.
sunk cost fallacy there or something, like in
Yeah.
terms of people just being like, yeah, but I don't really want to learn
The
a
yeah,
new
the
thing.
the
Or
dis the discomfort of migrating to a new system is greater than the discomfort of using the system.
yeah.
Right.
So like Actors Access is for the actor to upload their materials and submit to
Mhm.
auditions. Breakdown Services is like the other side of the coin, and that's for production and
Yep.
TVs and casting to release breakdowns to the agents and managers. So agents and managers read breakdown services.
Hmm.
Casting directors submit through breakdown services. They get the break. They say like, okay, we're looking for a waiter. We're looking for this character that's a guest star. We need this. We need 3 child actors. Whatever. Um, and then if the reps get an audition for their client, the actor gets alerted on Actors Access that they have an audition. And in some cases, they submit the audition through what's called EcoCast, which is the technology that Actors Access uses to
Yeah.
send video files, basically. And all of that gets recorded and cataloged on the casting side.
Yep.
And Breakdowns has kind of been the only name in the game for a while, and like probably over 10 years. And they've got relationships with, they pretty much, I think, except for a window in time a few years ago, they are the service for theatrical and television in the United States.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably worth mentioning. Like everything that we've talked about here is very United States centric. There are separate whole ecosystems that are, I'm sure, just identical.
Spotlight is the UK one.
Spotlight is the UK
I think
one.
there might be a corporate daddy that's,
Yeah.
up the genealogy tree.
For sure.
The talent systems is the commercial side, which has casting networks and Casting Frontier and Cast It, and they have they have their own services, and then they charge actors different subscription fees and tiers, but commercial casting uses them to catalog and coordinate everything there. And so they both have these separate, I guess, workflows or vertically integrated like steps of the food chain. And so we constantly are like, what can SAG do?
Yes. Well, it's a question that we talk a lot about. So SAG did try to do something at one point that was kind of half-baked, and I want to say it was like 2008, right? And it was like they created iActor, which was supposed to be a platform to take over casting, and it kind of just died on the vine and never went anywhere. And
I guess, technically it's still operating. I recently updated
it is still
mine.
there. Yep, you can still log into it.
No one uses it,
Right.
from what I can tell. And it hasn't been, the tech hasn't been updated since 2008. So it looks like kind of like an old school website.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess like in a perfect world, we sort of dream about SAG pumping in resources and time and energy into iActor and convincing casting and production and studios to be like, hey, this is where you can get, you can create auditions through here, replace Breakdowns with this, and our union actors don't have to pay all the extra third-party fees. But their job, I guess, if I'm, to be generous to the unions, like their job is to negotiate with studios and stuff, and every 3-4 years now, and certain things, and that's another business that they kind of entering into that they don't necessarily have the resources for, I suppose.
Yes, but I do feel like they could find a way. Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely a way they could find a way. But that's not happening yet, so we don't need to beat it over a horse. But since we brought up the union, though, we should talk about union dues. So there are costs to being in the union as well. You've got 1.5% of your earnings, plus you have whatever the minimum fee is that you pay twice a year, and it costs like a good chunk up front to join.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the union, of all of the things we've talked about, kind of is an investment, because then you are getting something with it, right? There are, through the SAG Foundation especially, you start to get a lot of other benefits. You get exposure to different things. There's a lot of educational opportunities that are through there. There's exposure opportunities through there with casting and the casting workshops. We've talked about that on a couple of previous episodes. You could find representation through there. There's curated lists of SAG approved reps, right, that you could then send emails out to. Plus, then you get all of the power of the union when you book a job, and the jobs that you book tend to pay better, and there's residuals, and there's a back end in most cases, unless they buy you out. So like there's a lot of benefits to joining the union when you're working enough to do that. But there is a challenge with joining the union is that you're not able to then do non-union work, right? And it's a little bit easier right now, I think, to pay your rent acting as an actor, only acting, with non-union work because it tends to be some of the things that are shooting all the time, like verticals, commercials tend to be increasingly non-union, it feels like, industrial spots. There's other things where you're not going to get paid a great wage, but you could work more often. So I guess it's like that's ultimately it depends on what your goal is. If you just want to make a living as an actor, then that's great. If you want to work on the best material possible, I think that joining the union is a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, in addition to that, if you have, a good year, that's potentially health insurance that comes
Yep.
at a much lower cost than covered California because and you and it's good insurance. And then you also, if you have an even better year, can get what's like a forget what it's called. Essentially, investing into your pension,
Yep.
and you need 5 strong years to then qualify for your pension.
Hmm.
And then, but that's then money down the road that's for you to have access to.
Right.
And those the SAG Foundation and all the training there and everything, I think is that saves you some real money if you were to
Hmm.
um replace the workshop with the free workshop once a month at SAG Foundation. Take a class with a SAG Foundation person before investing in like a coaching service or
Hmm.
a marketing program to like look at your materials. Like those are you can get a lot of information for free because you paid for it with your union dues. And you
Right.
meet other actors and network and everything like that.
Yes, you do.
Um, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning too, and you alluded to it, Sean, but like the uh SAG technically has a contract, and producers have in their contract that they will give footage to the performers,
Hmm.
and I said, I'm looking to pay some stranger $10 or whatever to get my footage from the internet, and they can you want to elaborate on that? Like,
Yeah, so when you are a producer and you're a signatory, one of the things you have to do is turn over your final product to SAG for distribution of materials, and you have to in the contract it says you have to provide the materials to the actors. And for some reason that it never happens and it's never enforced. And
yeah,
I don't know why. It's probably because they don't have the resources to police it, and it would be a lot. Because if you think about how many free or low paying productions there are, that's like
yeah,
that don't like that would be a big thing because anyone can make something that is SAG if you're a low enough budget, right? Like they've done a very good job of making the talent of the union accessible to producers, and but with that I think comes a lack of resources. So it's like it's tough to police. I would love to see some kind of future if I had a magic wand to give SAG a bunch of money. It would be to create a casting service, and through that service, we could also get materials, and that would be outstanding. As if and like the problem, one of the challenges too is that post production could take forever, right? Like I've been on a short film that took 2 years to thing to finally be edited, or a feature that takes 2 years if it's an indie feature, right? So like that's not uncommon, and it could take forever to get some stuff. But it would just be nice to be able to get some stuff, right?
yeah.
And
I guess it would be nice to have
yeah,
the option to wait and get it for kind of get it for free, and then
yes,
if you were not as patient and willing to part with a little bit of money, these services will stick around for anyone who wants
yeah,
to pay them a little,
sure,
for the urgency of it. Yeah. Um, yeah, it would be nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's just no incentive really from the producer side to do that, to participate. Like I'm thinking about like
Well,
SAG does a great job with
also,
screeners and
sure.
we have a portal, but like there's an incentive there for the
Yeah.
studios to a small one to
Yeah.
get people to vote, to watch their movies and vote and word of mouth and whatever. So I wonder about the incentive structure, and it doesn't matter, I guess, if there's a contract, but
Yeah.
uh yeah, and yet again, that is a thing SAG would have to invest in to store all of that footage and just and
Yeah.
disseminate it, and like to tag everyone. I mean, I'm sure technology's come a long way since 2008. I'm sure it's a lot easier of an investment now, but
Oh yeah.
you know, I don't know. I did a pilot, and I was desperate. I called everybody I knew who had like a little, like who was a big agent, like a friend whose husband was a big agent and stuff like that. I was like, can I get this footage? Like, I'd love to see, because the pilot didn't go forward.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's buried. It's gone. Like, and you're just like, that seems, I'm like, I'm not going to put it on the internet. I just want it for my little clip for
Right.
my
Yeah.
reps to send out,
I need 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the bummer of it.
It is. It is. So what do we think are returns on investment? So I mentioned a little bit that the union gets it through classes and through better wages and
Mhm.
protections. But what are some of the other things that you feel like is a return? Because it's not all monetary. I mean, in an ideal world, if we're thinking about this as a business, right, every dollar you put in, you get like a dollar 20 back. That's not necessarily how this business works.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, from like a headshot is an investment. It is an expense you have to take because that's what everyone looks at to decide to book you, and it gets used, and then every few years you get another set. But at some point it'll be an expense, it'll be an expense, and then one of those shots will be like, oh, this is it, like, or
Mhm.
it'll unlock some information about yourself of like, oh, I found my type, or I see myself the way the business sees me. And that becomes your go-to photo, and you get to use it probably for 3 years or more, maybe,
Mhm.
if nothing's changing physically for you anytime soon. Um, and so I think there's a confidence that you get out of that when you're like, I have materials that I'm proud of. Everything looks great, right? And so, you know, you've got to go through the process of like doing the short films and it not quite being exactly how you hoped it would turn out, and like, but you don't have any footage, so you got to put it on your reel anyways.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully getting more footage, and then having something where like, oh, I feel like I have a package, like I feel like I have a showcase, and then that's a lot of the work at some point.
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay, well, at least it speaks, it reflects me how I feel, so I feel get confidence from that, and I think better opportunities.
For
But
sure. I think the opportunities is really where you're measuring your return, right? Is it's like
yeah.
does is the money you're putting in helping you find work? And that's the investment. It's if you were to think about this as being any other business, there are certain expenses that you'd be like if you have a landscaping company,
Hmm.
you need hardware, you need to know what you're doing. It's like you're going to need a truck, you'd have gas, that's like a consumable resource. And for us as actors, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's like you're going to have your headshots, you're going to have your annual, you know, you need this digital stuff to be present and accounted for. You need to
Yeah, it's
develop
kind
your
of like your
skill set.
license.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of getting certified in a way. Um, Classes are skill development, right? So that's
And
like that's
networking, because
and
maybe
networking, you get a lot of
collaborate
extra
with
benefit
people.
out of it, right? Yeah, but it's really kind of like R&D. So now
Hmm.
you're developing the product that you can sell to producers and casting. And I think the more you can think about it as a business, the more comfortable you'll become with the amount of money that it costs you to do it every year because it's not free, but it is worth it, right? If you're trying to get opportunities, like you have to do it. I would say though, speaking to myself and for myself, paying the services and having an agent is still not enough. You have to be
Right.
submitting, you have to be trying to meet people, you have to be trying to create work. There's still all kinds of other intangible, high effort, high time demand things that may or may not cost money that you still have to do, because a lot of it is about seeking opportunity and finding someone to say yes to you, which is one of the parts that's unique about acting, and one of the things that makes it so hard is that you're not in control. So the only thing that we have is increase the amount of opportunities there are, so you increase the likelihood of someone saying yes, right? Like if you think about it, the bigger the net is that you're casting, the more likely you are to catch something. So, and that's kind of where it's going right now, and kind of how you have to think about it, right? And if you think, even if you just look at other businesses, the businesses that market the best tend to be the ones that get the most attention. And they're
Yeah.
not necessarily the best business. They might not be the perfect solution, but their people are aware of it, right? And it's kind of most of the investment, most of what we're spending money on, I think we should think of as marketing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think in if you look at it like your headshots and your reels and the footage, and whatever creative workarounds you can to build that stuff
Mm-hmm.
is also eventually an investment in a relationship, because hopefully something in there would like attract an agent and attract a manager, and they expand your net, right? Like they expand those relationships. They're not, but like you said, they're getting 10%, they're doing 10%. They've got other clients too, so you still have to do that 90%. um
Mm-hmm.
and I think what I'm realizing is like, I've had these tools. Like the nice thing is it feels expensive, I think, early on.
Yeah.
And then you gain wisdom, and you're
Yes.
like, I don't need that. I don't need that. Okay, we can cut this money. Um, and you can make that number smaller as you go.
Sure.
Um, and then probably it goes up again if you like hit a new plateau. Like
That's
you
it.
need a
Yeah.
PR person or a publicist, or like you're going to go to red carpets. That's more expenses, which I don't have the experience to talk about, but we
Right.
could
Then you're like
certainly,
renting a suit and you're like, right.
yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot
yeah,
more that goes into your image.
stylists,
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
And you're
Yes.
investing in that exposure. But in the sort of like newbie to working, there's a curve, and it goes down a little bit, and then you also just get a little savvier of where can I save some money, where can I avoid it, and something I think before we wrap up that since we should just acknowledge that we're just two dudes, and actresses, for dear friends of mine have invested even more time and money because they've had to like go get their
Makeup,
makeup done or get
hair.
their
Yeah.
hair done. Like makeup's more
Dresses. Yeah.
expensive for
Right.
them at a headshot session. Some people do it for every audition if it suits their type or the role.
Mm.
And I mean, I really wonder. I was like, I'd love it if a role came across and then I would have to go get my hair blown out and like get a professional makeup artist to do, because it just doesn't. It's like I can just roll out of bed and do the self tape most of the time.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Every now and then you got to clean up a little bit or shave or something like that,
Sure.
but
Whatever
like
feels right.
it's not it's not the extent of, I have friends who used to like stop at like a Macy's to get their makeup done and then go on to the audition.
Yeah.
So there's that double standard. The pink
That's
tax,
that's true. That is worth mentioning. It is a lot more. Pretty much all of it is a lot more expensive for women. Uh,
Yeah.
in every way, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's I don't know, maybe like, what do you like? I suppose I'd love to hear from listeners or anyone watching and hear their own actor math, like is what's their budget looking like? Where are they spending the money? Where are they getting the return on their investment? How are they utilizing it? Like how are they, if they're spending money on the website, how are they trying to use it to propel their career forward? Be interested to just hear what people feel like their profits and losses are, and we could get into this topic again.
Right. Or anything that we missed. Obviously, this is like a really quick, high level look at the expenses that actors have, but there might be others, right? Like you might work as
Oh,
a
like
local in another market, and then
I
you're
was just
paying,
going to say,
yeah, and
local
you're,
hire. You're
yeah,
spending some
and then
money on a
you're
flight.
paying money for flights, right? Which then you're tapping in, you're further reducing the net income that you're generating, which
You're
affects,
probably breaking even or losing money at that
yeah.
point, possibly.
But there's like certain times in your career where the
Might be
credit
worth it.
is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like work begets work, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
fortunately. If you're working, it's fortunate. If you're not working, it's unfortunate. But it tends to be how it goes, right? The industry is kind of like predicated on heat. And like if you have something going for you, more people are likely to say yes, which is why another cost that we didn't talk about that I do think is worthwhile is creating your own stuff. So
Sure.
put money into your own stuff, where you can hire a crew, hire a DP and a director, a producer that knows what they're doing, where you can get something that looks great and feels legit. Whether you wrote it or you found a, a writer that wrote something great that you would be a good fit for, right? I think producing your own material is will probably give you the largest return, I think, because you're getting so much more. Like you're That's like a month you don't have to be in a class, you don't have to worry about headshots, you don't have to, it's like you're doing it already, you're giving yourself the yes, and you're going to learn so much from that experience that's going to make you better going forward, that I feel like it's well worth that cost. As long as it's
Yeah.
reasonable. I'm not talking like 35 grand to shoot a short film, that's unnecessary. But if you have like 1 to 3 grand, you can definitely do something really ambitious for that, or even less if you know enough people and ask for favors, or decide to shoot some stuff yourself. During the pandemic, I shot a 6 episode web series for nothing on my own on a phone, just because I was motivated to do it. So there's there is a way, and I do think that that is well worth doing.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. And we'll have to do a whole episode about creating your own work, I think, at some point, or more than one, maybe.
For sure, there's a lot there. Um, yeah, but yeah, write in, listeners, please, ask at supportingactors.com or leave us a comment, and tell us what your expenses are, what you think about it, things that we may have missed, or things that what your experience has been with the various services, and which ones you find are or are not worth the time.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? You want to jump into ad libs?
Yeah, let's hit some ad libs here. I don't have any final thoughts on financing. I think we kind of covered it, but yeah. So ad libs. My ad lib this week is going to be Levain Bakery. So Levain
Oh,
Bakery
yeah.
is
Very good.
a cookie spot. It was started in New York City, but they now
Mhm.
have them here in Los Angeles, and they're these like cookies that are the size of scones, and they're all very good. You can order them online; they'll ship them to you wherever. You don't have to be in a major market to experience the majesty of Levain cookies. But yeah, that would be mine. Levain Bakery.
Nice. Mine is antibiotics.
Okay.
My toddler got sick like 2 weeks ago, and then we got sick,
Mm.
and then I got better, I thought, and then we both were sick again. And I was like, oh, this is being the parent of a child. Like this is what all my friends have been complaining about. But we took matters in our own hand, did a telehealth appointment over the phone, and said, I think something else is going. There's just no way I can keep having this cold sinus congestion. And they're like, sounds like a sinus infection. Here, we'll get you some pills, and I am a new human being.
Amazing.
after just a couple days.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I was really fighting through.
Yeah, you had no idea how sick you were until you felt
I
better.
had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So, yeah, modern medicine, that's giving me life.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this has been another episode of Supporting Actors. Please like us, subscribe, leave us a comment, or send us an email or suggestion at ask@supportingactors.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Sean Dubé.
I'm Patrick Quinlan.
And tune in next week when we see who can make the smallest face.
Mm-hmm.
It can get pretty tiny.